Here's what I think is going on with the Apple brand right now as it relates to Apple Intelligence and AI in general. So, as many people are talking about, Apple released this big paper last week about the fact that it's pointing out through a number of AI scientists and experts that the current models we use right now don't actually reason, that when they're faced with complex problems, they just putter out and they fail. And I think Apple did this in for a variety of reasons, but I want to talk about it from the brand perspective and what I think's happening from a product development perspective also. So here's my assessment, and just by way of preface, I have no insider information. I'm just connecting dots as a brand strategist who likes Apple and AI. All right, so here's what I think is happening. Apple has never been actually creating the current types of AI that are in popular use today. LLMs, large language models. I don't think Apple set out to create an LLM with Apple Intelligence. I think, if I'm understanding this correctly, I think Apple actually set out to create AGI or something similar to AGI, like a super intelligence. And the reason why Apple stumbled out of the gate is because what they launched a product that was supposed to be competing with OpenAI and Claude's creator and Google and other creators on the field of AGI or AGI-esque type of AI models. And instead, what happened was Apple entered into the market and everyone is all in on LLMs. It's kind of like walking into a concert expecting, and you're one of the main acts, and you're expecting to go on stage and have kind of like a battle of the bands, and then you just learn that the opening acts are still on. I think that um, this was kind of an impromptu market call where the Chat GPTs, the Claudes, the Geminis did not expect LLMs to catch on as deeply and as widely as they have. And so there's this public fascination with LLMs because for the first time, they're making work easier. They're solving real problems. And yeah, there's a lot of downsides to it. I mean, we're all humans. We're innately wicked from my perspective. So Apple is sitting there thinking, well, this isn't what we have created. And if we roll this out, we're going to be just completely out of sync with the market. Because if there's one thing Apple's very good at, it is reading markets and it's reading the room and understanding timing and nuance and voice and brand and the power of all those things wrapped into what consumers want and need and what is going to create market share. So, what I think Apple did is they humbly rolled back plans for Apple Intelligence because it is not an LLM. It is more closely aligned with AGI than actual LLM. And they've just been sitting quietly about it. We didn't actually hear anything about it in the masses and the main keynotes at DubDub. So here's what I think is happening. Apple produces this paper from a variety of scientists and experts that points out what LLMs do and do not do. This is their way of simply coming at this and saying, "Hey, this is this is what your current array of products. This is your Chat GPTs, your Claudes, and things like that. This is what it's actually doing, so that it can start planting the seeds of Apple's better product. I still hold out hope that Apple is waiting for the Claudes, the Chat GPTs, the Geminis to roll out their AGI-esque, their soft AGI version of AI, something that's actual, closer to an actual artificial sentience or artificial intelligence, which I think is what Apple has actually created with what they're calling Apple Intelligence. I don't think for a minute that Apple set out to create an LLM. It doesn't make business sense for them to have done that. And so essentially they're just sitting on their hands until the market gets kind of tired of LLMs and we're all ready for actual intelligence. Now, actual intelligence, that's a whole nother thing, especially when it comes to brands, because then you'll have agents that can go off and do things on their own based on training and what we tell them to do. That's a whole nother video. That's another thing. But I think this is why Apple has stayed in the background. I think this is why Apple has uncharacteristically gone quiet. But if you look at the moves they've made with this big paper they released about what the current version of AI LLMs are and are not, I think we can start connecting the dots and seeing that Apple is playing the long game here. So don't count them out.